The Great Hall of the Galactic Concord was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed beneath it. The walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Thousands of seats rose in circles around the central platform, and in those seats sat the representatives of the most powerful species in the known galaxy today. They had gathered to laugh Ambassador Virith of the Selenari Empire. He leaned back in his chair and watched the human delegation enter the hall. His skin was pale blue, and his four eyes narrowed with amusement. The Selenari had ruled 3 star systems for 10,000 years. They had seen many primitive species try to join the galactic community. Most of them failed. The humans, Vera thought, fail faster than most. The human leading the delegation was a woman named Chen Wei. She wore a simple gray uniform with the words, United Earth Navy, printed on the shoulder. Her black hair was pulled back tight, and her face showed no emotion as she walked to the central platform. Behind her came a small group of officers, all of them looking around the great hall with wide eyes. Admiral Chen Wei of Earth, the Concord speaker announced, "You may present your petition." Chen Wei stood straight and spoke in a clear voice. "Honored members of the Galactic Concord, humanity comes to you today seeking membership in your community. We also request protection for our trade routes. For the past 3 years, Cathari raiders have attacked our merchant ships. They have killed our people and stolen our goods. We ask the Concord to help us stop these attacks." A ripple of whispers went through the hall. The Cathari were known to everyone. They were slavers and pirates who operated at the edge of civilized space. Most species paid them tribute or stayed away from their territory. The idea that humans would ask for help against them was amusing to many of the delegates. Ambassador Virith raised one of his 4 hands, asking to speak. The speaker recognized him, and Virith stood up slowly, making sure everyone could see him. "Admiral Chen," he said, his voice dripping with false kindness. "Before the Concord can consider your request, we must understand what you bring to our community. What does humanity offer? What is the strength of your fleet?" Chen Wei's expression did not change. "Our fleet currently numbers 847 vessels." More whispers. 800 ships was not a small number. Some of the delegates looked impressed. "What class of vessels?" Viroth asked. "Battle cruisers. Carriers? Dreadnoughts?" "Our fleet is composed of retrofitted civilian ships," Chen Wei said. "Cargo haulers. Mining vessels. Colony transports. Our flagship, the Perseverance, is a converted generation ship." The hall went silent for a moment. Then the laughter began. It started with the Selenari delegation, but it quickly spread. Soon, hundreds of alien voices were laughing at the human admiral standing alone on the central platform. Viroth did not try to hide his smile. "Cargo haulers," he said when the laughter died down. "You expect the Concord to treat you as equals when your navy is made of garbage trucks and mining equipment." Chen Wei stood perfectly still. Her officers behind her shifted uncomfortably, but she did not move. "Our ships are functional," she said. "They serve our needs, your needs." Virith laughed again. "Admiral, I have seen your ships. My scouts observed your fleet when you entered Concord space. Your most advanced warship would not survive a single shot from one of our patrol craft. Your armor is scrap metal welded together. Your weapons are industrial tools. You do not have a navy. You have a collection of junk." The laughter came again, louder this time. Chen Wei waited for it to stop. "We work with what we have," she said simply. Virith shook his head, still smiling. "The Concord cannot offer protection to a species that cannot protect itself. Build proper warships. Develop real weapons. In perhaps 500 years, you might be worth our attention." The vote was quick and unanimous. Humanity's petition was denied. Their request for protection was rejected. The delegates began to leave the hall, already forgetting about the primitive humans and their junk fleet. Chen Wei gathered her officers and walked toward the exit. Her face still showed nothing, but her hands were closed into tight fists at her sides. A young lieutenant named Park walked beside her. "Admiral," he said quietly, "what do we do now?" Chen Wei did not answer until they had left the great hall and entered the corridor that led to the landing bay. When she finally spoke, her voice was cold. You stop asking for help. The human delegation boarded their shuttle and returned to the Perseverance. The old ship hung in orbit above the Concorde's capital world, surrounded by sleek alien vessels that made it look even more ancient and tired. Its hull was patched in 100 places. Its engines glowed with an uneven light. It looked exactly like what the aliens had called it: junk. But as Chen Wei walked through its corridors, she saw something the aliens had missed. She saw crew members working together to fix a broken power line. She saw engineers arguing about how to make the weapons more efficient. She saw soldiers training in the cargo bay, practicing combat techniques that no alien species had used in centuries. She saw people who had been told they were worthless and who had refused to believe it. Chen Wei reached the bridge and sat down in her command chair. Her senior officers gathered around her, waiting for orders. "The Concorde thinks we are weak," she said. "The Cathari think we are prey. They look at our ships and see garbage. They look at our weapons and see toys." She paused, looking at each of her officers in turn. "They are wrong." She pulled up a holographic display showing the positions of Cathari raider groups. Red dots spread across the map like a disease. "We cannot build the ships they have," Chen Wei continued. "We cannot match their technology or their numbers. But we do not need to. Humanity has never won its battles by being stronger than its enemies. We win by being smarter, by being more determined, by refusing to give up when everyone tells us we should." She stood up and faced her officers. "The Concorde has abandoned us, so we will defend ourselves. And when we are done, the galaxy will never laugh at humanity again." The officers saluted and went to their stations. The Perseverance turned away from the Concorde's capital world and began its long journey back to Earth. Behind it, the aliens continued with their lives. Already forgetting the primitive humans and their ridiculous fleet, they would remember soon. Enough 6 months passed after the Concorde's rejection. In that time, the Cathari raiders grew bolder. They attacked 3 more human freighters and took 200 prisoners. The survivors reported that the Cathari had laughed while they chained them. They said humans would make excellent slaves because they were too weak to fight back. "Admiral?" Chen Wei received these reports in silence. She read every word, memorized every name of the captured and killed. Then she went back to work, deep in the belly of the Perseverance. In a section of the ship that had once been a hydroponics bay, Chen Wei had built her war room. Holographic displays covered every wall, showing maps of Cathari space, intelligence reports, and technical diagrams. Her senior staff met there every day to plan what she called the Perseverance Doctrine. "Commander." Jackson Park stood before one of the displays. It showed a Cathari warship in perfect detail. The vessel was beautiful in a terrible way. Its hull was made of living crystal that could heal itself after battle. Its weapons were plasma lances that could burn through armor like fire through paper. Its shields could stop almost any attack. "One of these ships could destroy half our fleet," Park said. "The Cathari have thousands of them," Chen Wei nodded. "Then we cannot fight them the way they expect." Oh. She pulled up a new display. This one showed Earth's history. Images of ancient battles filled the screen. Small armies facing large ones. Weak nations surviving against powerful enemies. David and Goliath. The 300 Spartans. Guerrilla fighters in jungles and mountains. "Humanity has always been the underdog," Chen Wei said. "We have spent our entire history fighting against superior forces. And we have learned something that the galaxy has forgotten. You do not need the best weapons to win a war. You need the will to use whatever weapons you have." Over the next weeks, Chen Wei and her staff developed a new way of fighting. They called it asymmetric warfare. The idea was simple. If you cannot match your enemy's strength, do not try. Instead, find their weaknesses and attack those. The Cathari had powerful ships. But those ships were designed for one kind of battle. They expected their enemies to line up and fight face to face, trading shots until one side was destroyed. Their tactics had not changed in 1,000 years because they had never needed to change. No one had ever challenged them in a different way. Humanity would be different. The first change came to the mining ships. These vessels had been built to cut through asteroids and extract valuable minerals. Their drilling lasers were powerful but short-range. No one had ever thought to use them as weapons. Chen Wei's engineers changed that. They recalibrated the lasers to focus their energy into tight beams. At close range, these beams could cut through Cathari crystal armor like a hot knife through butter. The cargo haulers were next. These big, slow ships seemed useless in a battle, but Chen Wei saw their potential. Each hauler had enormous cargo bays that could hold thousands of tons of material. Her engineers filled those bays with missiles, not the expensive guided missiles that other species used. These were simple rockets with nuclear warheads. They were cheap, easy to build, and deadly in large numbers. The colony transports became drone carriers. Each transport could launch hundreds of small, unmanned craft. These drones were not very smart and not very tough. Most of them would be destroyed in any battle. But they only needed to do one thing. They needed to overwhelm the enemy's defenses through sheer numbers. But the most important change was not about weapons. It was about attitude. Chen Wei gathered all the captains of the fleet in the Perseverance's main hangar. Over 800 men and women stood before her, representing every ship in humanity's navy. They looked tired and worried. They had all heard about the Cathari attacks. They all knew the odds against them. "I know what you are thinking," Chen Wei said. "You are thinking that we cannot win, that our ships are too old, our weapons too weak. You are thinking that the aliens were right to laugh at us." She paused, looking across the sea of faces. "You are wrong." Chen Wei walked among her captains as she spoke. "The Cathari have better ships. The Selenari have better technology. Every species in the galaxy has more resources than we do. But none of them have what we have." She stopped and turned to face them all. "We have nothing to lose. We have no history of easy victories to make us soft. We have no empire to protect, no traditions to hold us back. We are new to this galaxy, and we are hungry. We are desperate. And desperate people do desperate things." A murmur ran through the crowd. Chen Wei raised her voice. "The galaxy thinks war is about ships and weapons. They are wrong. War is about will. It is about who wants victory more. Who is willing to sacrifice more? Who can endure more pain and still keep fighting?" She climbed onto a cargo container so everyone could see her. "I'm not going to promise you victory. I am not going to tell you that we will all survive. Many of us will die in the battles to come. Our ships will burn. Our friends will be lost. But I promise you this," her voice rang through the hangar like a bell. "We will make them remember us. We will make them fear us. We will show the galaxy that humanity is not prey. We are predators. And we are coming for anyone who ever thought they could hurt our people and get away with it."
Out of the hangar.
Erupted in cheers. Captains who had been worried now stood tall. Engineers who had doubted themselves now believed. Soldiers who had been afraid now felt courage growing in their hearts. Chen Wei watched them and allowed herself a small smile. She knew the truth. The coming war would be terrible. Many of these people would die, but they would not die as victims. They would die as warriors. The fleet began its transformation. Ships that had been falling apart were rebuilt with new purpose. Weapons that had been jokes became instruments of death. Crews that had been demoralized became driven by a single goal. When the Cathari came again, they would not find easy prey. They would find a trap, Proxima. Colony was humanity's first settlement outside the solar system. It was a small world with thin air and cold winds, but 50,000 humans called it home. They had built cities under protective domes and farms and heated greenhouses. They had made a life for themselves far from Earth. Now the Cathari were coming to take it all away. Warlord Thessenvor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Burning Crown. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes that glowed with a soft red light. 200 warships followed behind him, their crystal hulls catching the light of distant stars. It was more than enough force to crush any human resistance. His scouts had reported only 30 human ships defending the colony, 30 junk vessels against 200 Cathari warships. Vor almost felt insulted that the humans had sent so few. "Open a channel to the colony," he ordered. The communication screen flickered to life, showing a human face. The man was middle-aged with dark skin and calm eyes. His name tag read Commodore Park. "Humans of Proxima Colony," Thessenvo announced. "I am Warlord Thessenvor of the Cathari Dominion. Your pathetic fleet cannot save you. Surrender now, and your people will serve the Dominion as slaves. Resist, and we will make an example of you. Your cities will burn. Your children will die screaming. The choice is yours." Commodore Park looked at the warlord for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Come and take it," he said. The channel closed. Thessenvor felt his anger rise. These humans did not seem to understand their situation. He would teach them. "All ships, advance," he commanded. "Destroy their fleet. Leave no survivors." The Cathari Armada moved forward in perfect formation. Their ships flew in neat lines, their weapons charging with deadly energy. They had fought 100 battles this way and won every one. This battle would be no different, but as they approached the human fleet, something strange happened. The human ships scattered. They did not hold formation or try to meet the Cathari head-on. Instead, they split apart and flew in random directions, weaving and spinning like insects escaping a predator. "What are they doing?" Thessenvor demanded. His tactical officers studied his display with confusion. "They appear to be fleeing, Warlord, but their patterns make no sense. Our targeting computers cannot predict their movements." "Then fire manually," Thessenvor snapped. "They are just cargo ships. How hard can it be to hit them?" The Cathari weapons fired. Plasma lances streaked through space, beautiful and deadly. They hit nothing. The human ships were never where the weapons expected them to be. They moved without logic, without pattern, without any sense at all, and then they attacked. It happened too fast for the Cathari to understand. One moment, the human ships were running. The next, they were everywhere. Drone swarms erupted from the colony transports, thousands of tiny craft that filled space like angry bees. The Cathari point defense systems began firing, destroying drones by the hundreds, but there were always more. The mining ships came next. They flew straight at the Cathari warships, ignoring the plasma fire that reached for them. Some were destroyed, their crews dying in balls of flame. But others made it through. They got close, so close that the Cathari weapons could not target them. And then their drilling lasers activated. Thessenvor watched in horror as a mining ship attached itself to one of his cruisers like a parasite. Its laser cut through the crystal hull like it was made of ice. Atmosphere vented into space. Crew members were sucked out into the void. The cruiser broke apart in seconds. "How is this possible?" Thessenvor shouted. "Those are mining tools." His tactical officer did not answer. He was too busy trying to track the chaos on his display. Red warning lights were appearing everywhere as Cathari ships reported damage. The cargo haulers opened their bays. Missiles poured out in endless streams. They were not smart missiles with guidance systems. They were simple rockets that flew in straight lines. But there were so many of them that it did not matter. The Cathari shields, designed to stop energy weapons, struggled against the physical impact of thousands of warheads. And when those warheads detonated with nuclear fire, the shields failed entirely. Commodore Park commanded the battle from his ship, a converted freighter called the Rust Bucket. It was an ugly vessel covered in patches and welded armor plates. But its crew was the best in the fleet, and Park knew exactly what he was doing. "Mining Group 3, target the flagship's engines," he ordered. "Drone Swarm 7, focus on the eastern formation. Missile haulers reload and prepare for another volley." The battle had no front line. There was no formation, no order. It was pure chaos, and the humans loved it. They had trained for this kind of fighting. They had practiced being unpredictable, being crazy, being so wild that no computer could calculate their movements. The Cathari had not trained for anything like this. Their doctrine was based on elegant, organized warfare, ship against ship, honor and tradition. They did not know how to fight an enemy that refused to follow the rules. Thea San Vor made a decision he had never made before in his long career. All ships retreat, he ordered. Pull back to safe distance. His commanders were shocked. The Cathari did not retreat. They had not retreated in 500 years. But as they watched another cruiser die under a swarm of drones, they obeyed. The Cathari Armada fled. They jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished from the Proxima system, leaving behind the wreckage of 67 warships. Thiessen Vor stood on his bridge, surrounded by the smell of smoke and the sound of alarms. He could not believe what had happened. Commodore Park watched them go. Around him, the surviving human ships gathered together. They had lost 19 vessels, 19 crews who had given their lives for the colony, but they had one. Park opened a channel to Proxima Colony. "This is Commodore Park. The enemy has retreated. You are safe." The cheers from the colony filled the communication channel, 50,000 voices celebrating their survival. Park allowed himself a moment to feel proud. Then he turned to his crew. "Start rescue operations. Find every escape pod, every survivor. No one gets left behind." The rust bucket moved through the debris field, searching for life signs. Around it, the other human ships did the same. They found crew members from destroyed vessels floating in their pods, waiting to be saved. Every single one was recovered. The Cathari had not thought to target escape pods. They did not understand why anyone would waste time saving the crews of destroyed ships. It was this thinking that would cost them everything, because those rescued crews would fight again. And next time, there would be more of them. Word of the battle spread across the galaxy. The primitive humans with their junk fleet had defeated a Cathari armada. No one believed it at first. Then they saw the footage. They saw mining ships cutting through crystal armor. They saw cargo haulers launching nuclear missiles. They saw drones overwhelming the most advanced point defense systems in existence. The Galactic Concord. Stop laughing. The Cathari Dominion started. Planning and humanity started. Preparing for what would come next. The defeat at Proxima Colony was the greatest shame in Cathari history. Warlord Thiessen Vor had returned home in disgrace, his reputation destroyed. But the Dominion's response was not to punish him. It was to give him a chance for revenge, the supreme. Commander of the Cathari Dominion stood before the War Council and made an announcement. They would gather the largest armada ever assembled. 2,000 warships, including 12 planet crackers. These massive vessels could shatter continents and boil oceans. They were weapons designed to end civilizations. The target was Earth itself. "We will burn their homeworld to ash," the Supreme Commander declared. "We will enslave every survivor. We will make humanity a warning to any species that dares to challenge us. When we are finished, no one will ever speak of humans again except in fear." The Armada gathered at the edge of Cathari space. It took 3 months to assemble all the ships. Thiessen Vor stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and looked at the fleet stretching out before him. 2,000 points of light, each one a warship capable of destroying a city. It was beautiful. "Today we restore our honor," he said to his crew. "Today we end the human race." The Armada jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished into the darkness between stars. On Earth, Artmel Chinwei received word of the coming attack. Her spies had been watching the Cathari for months. She knew exactly how many ships were coming and when they would arrive. 847 human vessels waited near Jupiter. It was everything humanity had. Every cargo hauler, every mining ship, every transport and freighter that could carry a weapon. They had been upgraded and improved since Proxima, but they were still junk compared to Cathari warships. Chen Wei gathered her captains one last time. They stood in the Perseverance's hangar. It's the same place where she had given her first speech about the Perseverance Doctrine. Now they were about to put that doctrine to its ultimate test. 2,000 ships are coming to destroy our world, she said. They have planet crackers that can end all life on Earth. They have enough firepower to burn every colony we have ever built. On paper, we cannot win this fight. She paused, looking at the faces of her captains. She saw fear there, but also determination. but we have something they do not expect. We have been preparing for this moment since the day the Galactic Concorde laughed at us. We have turned the space between Jupiter and Mars into a trap. And when the Kethari walk into that trap, they will learn what humanity is truly capable of. The Kethari Armada arrived 3 days later. They emerged from faster than light, travel at the edge of the solar system, and began their approach toward Earth. Vor stood on his bridge and watched his sensors display. The human fleet, 800 ships, waiting near Jupiter, not running, not hiding, but standing their ground as if they actually thought they could win. They are brave, Vor admitted. Stupid, but brave. They have gathered their entire force in one place for us to destroy. He gave the order to advance. The Armada moved forward in perfect formation, a wall of crystal and fire stretching across millions of kilometers. Nothing could stand against such force. Nothing ever had. The human fleet did not move. They held their position as the Kethari approached. The Sunvoer found this strange. At Proxima, the humans had scattered and used chaos to their advantage. Why were they not doing the same now? He found out when his ships entered the space between Jupiter and Mars. The first sign of trouble was a small warning on a minor sensor. A piece of debris had struck one of the outer destroyers. The damage was minimal. The Sunvoer ignored it. Then more warnings came, and more and more. What is happening? He demanded. His sensor officer stared at his display with growing horror. The space around us is filled with objects. Millions of them. Debris, rocks, metal fragments. They are everywhere. The Sunvoer did not understand. Debris cannot harm our ships. Our shields are designed for energy weapons, the sensor officer interrupted. These objects are moving at incredible speed. They are punching through our shields like they are not there. All across the Armada, ships began taking damage. The debris was not random. It was controlled. Each piece had a tiny thruster attached to it that activated as the Kethari passed. Ball bearings, the size of fists, hit holes at thousands of kilometers per second. At that velocity, even small objects had the force of bombs. Crystal armor that could stop plasma lances shattered under the impacts. Shields that could block nuclear weapons flickered and died under constant bombardment. Ships that had never been damaged in battle suddenly found themselves full of holes, and then the human fleet attacked. They did not come as one force. They came in packs, like wolves hunting prey. Groups of 10 or 20 ships targeted single Kethari vessels, overwhelming them with numbers and firepower. Mining lasers cut through weakened hulls. Drone swarms blinded sensors and blocked weapons. Missiles detonated against exposed armor. The formation that had made the Kethari so powerful became a weakness. Ships could not support each other because they were too busy defending themselves. Commanders could not coordinate because their communications were jammed by human electronic warfare. The perfect order of the Armada dissolved into chaos. The SS Annihilated watched his tactical display fill with red. Ships destroyed. Ships disabled. Ships unable to fight. He had never seen anything like it. Target the planet crackers at Earth, he ordered. If we cannot win this battle, we will at least destroy their world. But the planet crackers were already under attack. Human boarding parties had landed on 3 of them. Marines in armored suits were fighting through the corridors, killing crews and planting explosives. It was a kind of warfare the Kethari had never experienced. Hand-to-hand combat inside their own ships, savagery that no civilized species would use. One by one, the planet crackers died. Some exploded from internal damage. Others were captured by human crews who turned their weapons against the Kethari fleet. The greatest weapons in the Dominion's arsenal became liabilities. The battle lasted 18 hours. By the end, Vor stood on a bridge filled with smoke and dead crew members. The Eternal Conquest was crippled, its engines destroyed, its weapons offline. Through the view screen, he could see the wreckage of his armada. Over 1,800 ships destroyed or disabled. The greatest military force the Kethari had ever assembled, broken beyond repair. A human shuttle approached the flagship. Vor knew what it meant. He considered ordering his remaining crew to fight to the death. But what would be the point? The battle was lost. The airlock opened, and human marines entered the bridge. They were smaller than Cathari, weaker looking, but they moved with the confidence of predators. Behind them came a human officer. Her uniform was torn and stained with blood, but her eyes were clear. "I am Admiral Chen Wei of the United Earth Navy," she said. "Your ship is now the property of humanity. Your crew will be treated as prisoners of war. You will be given food, water, and medical care." Thessin Vor stared at her. "Why? We would not have shown you such mercy." Chen Wei looked at him for a long moment. "That is the difference between us. We do not fight because we enjoy it. We fight because we must. And when the fighting is over, we try to be better than our enemies." She turned to her marines. "Take him to the holding cells. Treat him well." As Thessin Vor was led away, he looked back at the human admiral. She was already giving orders, directing her crews to rescue survivors from destroyed ships. Both human and Cathari, he had come to destroy humanity. Instead, they had destroyed everything he believed about warfare. And they had done it while still being human. For the first time in his long life, Thessin Vor felt something he had never felt before: respect. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. The Cathari Dominion's Grand Armada had been destroyed. 2,000 warships reduced to wreckage in a single battle. The human junk fleet had not just survived. It had won. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Concord called an emergency session. Every species sent their highest representatives. The Great Hall was filled to capacity. Thousands of alien faces looking toward the central platform with a mixture of shock and fear. Ambassador Viereth of the Selenari Empire sat in his usual seat. But he did not look comfortable. He kept glancing at the entrance, waiting for the human delegation to arrive. His aides whispered among themselves. No one was laughing now. The doors of the Great Hall opened. Admiral Chen Wei walked in alone. Her uniform was clean and pressed, but she had not bothered to hide the bruises on her face or the bandage on her hand. She had fought in the battle personally, commanding her fleet from the bridge of the Perseverance until a piece of debris had shattered the viewport and nearly killed her. She walked to the central platform and stood, where she had stood months before. When the Concord had rejected humanity's petition, when they had called her fleet garbage, when they had laughed, no one was laughing now. "Admiral Chen, Wei of Earth," the speaker announced, his voice uncertain. "You have requested an audience with the Concord." "I have," Chen Wei said. Her voice was calm and clear, the voice of someone who had nothing left to fear. "I have come to inform the Concord of recent events. As you may have heard, a Cathari Armada attacked the Sol system 3 days ago. 2,000 warships came to destroy Earth and enslave humanity." She paused, looking around the hall at all the alien faces watching her. They failed. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Chen Wei continued. "The Cathari lost 1,847 ships. Their supreme commander's flagship was captured. Warlord Thessin Vor is our prisoner. 12 planet crackers, weapons capable of ending worlds, were destroyed or seized by human forces." She pulled up a holographic display. It showed footage from the battle. Cathari warships exploding, human ships weaving through debris, Marines fighting through crystal corridors. The images were brutal and undeniable. "Humanity lost 412 ships in this engagement," Chen Wei said. "Nearly half our fleet. We lost good people, friends, family. They died defending their home from an enemy that thought we were too primitive to fight back." She turned off the display and faced the delegates directly. "Cathari made a mistake that many of you have made. They looked at our ships and saw junk. They looked at our weapons and saw toys. They looked at us and saw easy prey. They were wrong." Ambassador Vieroth shifted in his seat. Chen Wei's eyes found him, and she smiled without warmth. "Ambassador Vieroth, You told me that humanity should build proper ships. You said we might be worth your attention in 500 years? You called our navy a collection of garbage. Thirith said nothing. He could not meet her eyes. You were right about one thing, Chenwei continued. Our ships are junk. They are cargo haulers and mining vessels held together with patches and determination. Our weapons are improvised tools. Our tactics are desperate measures invented by people who had no other choice. She stepped forward, her voice rising. But what you fail to understand is that these things are our strength. Humanity has never had the luxury of perfect ships and advanced technology. We have always had to fight with whatever we could find. We have learned to make weapons from anything. We have learned to find victory in situations where victory should be impossible. The hall was completely silent. Every eye was fixed on the human admiral. The Cathari came to destroy us with the most powerful armada their civilization had ever built. And we beat them. Not because our ships were better, not because our weapons were stronger. We beat them because we wanted to survive more than they wanted to conquer. We beat them because we were willing to do whatever it took, sacrifice whatever we had to sacrifice, endure whatever pain we had to endure. She looked around the hall one more time. That is what humanity is. We are not the strongest species in this galaxy. We are not the smartest or the most advanced. But we are the most stubborn. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We do not stop fighting until we win or until we are dead. And even then, the next generation will pick up where we left off. Chenwei straightened her uniform and took a breath. I am not here to ask for membership in your Concord. I am not here to request protection or assistance. We do not need it. We have proven that we can defend ourselves against anything this galaxy throws at us. I am here to deliver a message. Humanity is no longer asking for your respect. We have earned it. We bought it with blood and fire and sacrifice. And if anyone in this hall thinks they can take it away from us, they are welcome to try. She turned toward the door. The Cathari thought we were prey. Now they know better. Any species that makes the same mistake will receive the same lesson. Humanity is here to stay. Get used to it. Admiral Chenwei walked out of the Great Hall without looking back. The doors closed behind her, leaving the delegates in stunned silence. It was Ambassador Viroth who spoke first. His voice was quiet, almost humble. I propose we grant humanity full membership in the Galactic Concord, immediately and unanimously. No one objected. The vote passed without a single voice raised against it. In the years that followed, humanity's junk fleet became legend. Other species studied the Battle of Sol, trying to understand how it had been won. They built simulations and wrote analyses. They could never quite explain how a fleet of cargo ships and mining vessels had defeated the most powerful armada in history. The answer was simple. But it was an answer that other species struggled to understand. Humanity had won because they refused to accept defeat. They had looked at impossible odds and decided that impossible was just a word. They had taken their junk ships and turned them into weapons that could shake the galaxy. Admiral Chenwei retired 5 years after the battle. She spent her final days on Proxima Colony, watching the sunset through the dome of the city she had saved. Sometimes young officers would visit her, asking for advice on tactics and strategy. She always told them the same thing. Your weapons do not win wars. Your ships do not win wars. You win wars. Your courage, your determination, your refusal to give up when everything tells you that you should. That is what matters. That is what will always matter. The old ships were eventually replaced by newer, better vessels. But humanity never forgot its junk fleet. They kept some of the original ships as museums and monuments. The Perseverance itself became a symbol, reminder of what humanity had achieved when the entire galaxy had laughed at them. And sometimes, late at night, crew members on human ships would tell stories about those first desperate battles. About mining lasers cutting through crystal armor. About cargo haulers launching nuclear missiles. About men and women who flew rust buckets into the heart of an armada, and somehow, impossibly. They had started as the laughingstock of the galaxy. They had ended as its defenders, and the galaxy would never forget what humanity had taught them. that sometimes the junk you throw away is exactly what you need to change everything, that the weakest can defeat the strongest if they want it badly enough, that the ships do not make the warrior makes the ships, and humanity had always been warriors. From the first moment they looked up at the stars and decided to reach for them, they always would be.